Kia ora koutou and welcome to the Hawke's Bay Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference. My name is Angela Caves. I'm the Digital Events Manager with Digital Boost. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I've got my collaborating partner, Tessa Williams from Connected here on the webinar with us. Today is day 2 of our conference. We had a wonderful opening day yesterday with a small opening ceremony, and then we heard from 4 fantastic partners. So obviously Connected and Digital Boost presented, and we had T from the Regional Business Partners join us, and the Hawke's Bay Chamber came on and had a chat with us. Before I do introduce you to our guest speaker today, I'm going to hand over to Tess, and she's just going to run through some webinar housekeeping for us all.
Kia ora koutou and welcome again. I'll be manning the chat, so if Denise mentions any websites or emails, we'll pop them in there. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the Q&A or the chat and we'll collate them at the end, or if you have any issues, and I'll pass it back to Ange. I'm really excited for this session about Poutama.
Thanks, Tess. Yeah, so we're recording this and streaming it. So we've got guests joining us, obviously, in the webinar itself, and there'll be people watching live as well. And then we will share links post the event for anybody who wasn't able to make it. Right, it's my pleasure to now introduce you to Venice Walker, and Venice is from Poutama Trust, and we're going to hear all about how Poutama is supporting the Hawke's Bay business community. Thanks, Venice.
Kia ora koutou, he mihi nui tēnei kia koutou katoa e tēnei hui hui ngā, tēnā koutou katoa kua tai mai nei. Ko Ngāti Rangiwiwihi me Ngāti Kowhata me Ngāti Tūkorihe nā iwi I tupu ake au I te awakairangi kei te noho ahau ki Manawatu he kai whakahaere pārongoa ma Poutama Trust taku mahi. So kia ora, ko Venice Walker tōku ingoa. I grew up in Lower Hutt and now live in Manawatu, and I'm the Information Manager, Business Advisor for Poutama. So I'm just going to share my screen with you all, and we'll get underway with the presentation. So hopefully you can all see that. And so yeah, I'm Venice Walker. I work for Poutama. Who are we? We are Poutama's an independent charitable trust that was established in July 1988. So at the time it was established, it was set up to provide business development services to Maori. We were given a one-off grant from the government at that time, and now we have a capital base of about 34 million that we invest, and we basically self-fund ourselves through those investments. What we do, so our services is for all businesses, all Māori businesses. We try and support, and I guess a lot of what we do is facilitate what services are out there for those Māori businesses to tap into. So we do a lot of that with our mahi. We facilitate collaborative and joint initiatives with a lot of our partners. So we do a lot of work with the likes of Te Puni Kōkiri, MB, and some of our key other Māori partners include Māori Women's Development, New Zealand Māori Tourism and the like, in terms of how we provide services and support to Māori businesses. Essentially what people come to Poutama for is for our small growth investments. So we have a small grant that we give out to businesses to help them flourish and grow. We deal with Māori businesses in all sectors and industries. And a lot of what we do as well is provide networking opportunities for our clients. So we have regionally based business advisors around the country. and we tend to get out and about within those regions, and where we can, we haven't had much in the last year or so due to COVID, but where we can, we generally will try and organise networking events in those areas to bring together our Māori businesses so that they can network and work with each other. So that is a lot of what we do. As I mentioned, I guess the main reason why people would come to Poutama is for our growth grants that we provide. These are some of the businesses that we've supported. But the criteria around our funding is that businesses need to be operating for at least 12 months. Their turnover has to be annual turnover of at least 80,000. And what we do is we come in and we provide like a co-investment with those businesses to help them grow. So you can apply, or they can apply for up to a maximum of 10K per year. We now have set a lifetime limit of the number of times a business can come to us for funding, but that's purely just because of the demand on our resources and the amount of funding that we have to give out to everybody. The other key criteria for businesses for Poutama funding is that the business needs to be at least 50% Māori owned. So the trust is essentially targeted and provides services and funding for Māori businesses. All of the information about our funding can be found on our website, which is www.poutama.co.nz, and then there's an apply online section where you can go in and complete the application form online, and that's all done through our website. If you do meet the criteria for our funding and it is something that you're interested in doing, then really encourage you to get onto our website and have a look at that. Some of the things that you'll need before you can complete the application form is an updated business plan. We also require your latest financials from your accountant, and then quotes on whatever products or services that you're going to be applying for. So a lot of people ask us what is it that they can apply for funding. I kind of find it easier to say what you can apply for. So we don't cover computers, and we don't cover operational expenses, so anything to do with just the normal day-to-day running of your business, wages, bills, salaries, that type of thing. We won't look at those costs because those are part of your everyday business expenses. But anything over and above that, where you can demonstrate how that investment is going to help grow your business in some way, that's what we can look at. So if I just go back to this last slide, we've supported gyms, CrossFit gyms, with purchasing new equipment so they could have more clients in their gyms. We've supported with marketing materials, overseas research. We've also helped with any type of specialised equipment that you might need. So there's a whole range of things that we will support. As long as you can demonstrate that it will grow the business in some way, then that's essentially what we will look at. I just wanted to quickly touch base on some mahi we did, which we did last year, where we partnered with the Provincial Growth Fund, the Provincial Development Unit, to administer a grants program for them, targeting Māori businesses throughout the country. They were the only regionally based businesses were eligible to apply, so no Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch businesses were able to. But essentially what it meant for us is that we could get out to the regions in which we work and work with some of those Māori businesses to help access larger pools of funding. So as I said before, Poutama, we do our normal 10K grant, which for a lot of businesses that we work with is a huge help and support to them. But what we were actually able to do with the partnering with the Provincial Growth Fund last year was had the ability to give out larger grants as well. So we were giving up to grants up to 100K last year. So same criteria as our normal Poutama criteria. But what we saw with that is there was a huge amount of businesses coming out of COVID that were really at a growth phase, and they needed some support to help them meet demand and grow their businesses further. So Bobby and Pakanui Webb are from Realtoria Price. So they are a couple who had been going for a while, and we supported them with some new equipment for their factory. And with that, they were able to employ some more staff as well. KBR Services are up in Waitara, so they were looking at expanding their crew and taking on some larger contracts in the Taranaki region, and so we supported them with the purchase of this new truck that you can see in the picture. And then we've got a whole heap of others that we supported as well. So during the 10 months that we administered the funding, we were able to support up to 74 Maori businesses. And in total, once we did the review on the program, around over 200 jobs were created throughout those businesses. So that was a real big key for us in terms of utilising that funding to ensure that the businesses are going to grow, and then also how they can increase their staff as well at the same time. So this is just a couple of other examples that we of businesses that we've supported. And as you'll see, it's ranged from a whole different range of things that depending on what their needs were. And so with the Abraham Shearing, we helped them purchase some new hand pieces and an electric wool press. And that allowed them to hire 4 more employees and some casual workers as well. Angel Delivery, they provide amazing care packages to new mothers, and for them, their whole kaupapa is around delivering food to those who are in need, so in replacement of flowers. And that's how their whole business came about. And so they were expanding hugely during COVID, as you can imagine. So what we supported them with was building a new cool room and chillers for their new premises. Silvercom is a forestry company based up in the far north, and they received funding to help purchase a van to enable them to transport their staff safely between home and work. And so that identified that that's a huge area or huge risk for them not having the ability to get their staff to some of their work sites. So this enabled them to grow, and 10 new jobs were created out of that investment. So I guess the whole kaupapa for Poutama funding is that whatever it is you're going to invest that putia into, there needs to be some growth, and you either need to be expanding the business either by employing more people or purchasing equipment that's going to enable you to offer a new product or service offering, and then also looking at that expansion as on their bottom lines as well. So that's really what we look at when we're looking at investing into and funding Māori businesses. This is another example of one of the PGF investments we helped with. This was a new barge for Tanifa Austin up in the far north. And so they were able to use their PGF funding to design and build a new barge, which allowed them to get out and explore a new way of doing their oyster farming. So, and they were able to create new jobs out of that as well. So that's just some of the stuff we do in terms of funding and how our investments can help support businesses to grow and flourish. Other things that I sort of mentioned as well earlier was around collaboration. So for the last sort of 10 to 15 years, we do a lot of collaboration, working with other groups and how we can bring people together for a common purpose. We started off with our Poutama Cuisine cluster back in 2012, I think it was launched. So that started off with around 18 Maori food and beverage producers who were wanting to work together to see how they could share experiences, ideas, but at the same time looking to export together offshore. And what we found is out of that cluster, a whole group of other sub-clusters, I guess, came out of that. So there's nearly 100 or so food and beverage producers now who are part of our cluster networks that we work with. And some of them are formal, some of them are informal, but the whole purpose of it is to bring them together so that they can work alongside each other. And what we found is for some of the smaller operators who are just getting into that business, they're able to work with some who've been around for a long time, with the likes of Kono and some of our wine groups, and help bring those other ones up as well and share ideas and experiences of how to help their businesses grow. So yeah, these are just some of the collaboration stuff we're doing and we have done in the past. Tourism's always been a big focus for Poutama since it was established, and that's purely because a lot of our businesses that we were working with were in tourism. And since COVID, obviously, there's been a huge effect on those businesses. So what we've been able to do is support a lot of them to diversify and look at other areas of their business that they can focus on to grow. So as an example, we've had a small waka tourism business down in the Able Tasman, purely reliant on a lot of international visitors coming. Since COVID, that's obviously not happened for them. They lost a lot of their business overnight, but what that's actually allowed them to do is focus more heavily on the domestic market. And now they do a lot of stuff working with schools and education programs and a lot of conference corporate partners as well who are wanting to do team building things. So that's kind of allowed them to start, although it was really hard for them, you know, it's enabled them to diversify as well and look at other areas where they can, where their product would suit different markets. So they're looking forward to, obviously, when the tourists do come back, as most of us would be around the country. So yeah, but that's just one way where we can help support businesses in terms of their growth and expansion and, you know, diversifying their offering. Tuku Wine, Māori Winemakers Collective. So this is a collective of Māori wineries that we've supported. They've all got their own sort of brands in their own right, but together they are working together to get their Tuku Māori Winemakers brand up into the US. So that's a project that's been going for a couple of years now, and they're some of our amazing wines down in the South Island and up in the Gisborne area as well. And then this is our other sort of the latest group that we've formed, which is a Mihi group, which stood for Māori in Hemp Innovation. And so for those of you in the Hawke's Bay, you may know Isaac and Simon from Kanapu Hemp. So they have their factory based in Hastings, and they specialise in hemp seed oils. So I think the group there's around 34 different Māori businesses who are now part of that Mihi Hemp group, looking at ways where they can work together, diversify what they're doing on their farms and their lands, and looking at other opportunities as well. So that's one of our other groups that we're currently working with. Yeah, so that's really my presentation in a nutshell. I'm really keen for any questions if there are any, because that's where we find a lot of people want to ask more about what the funding can be used for and how we can support. So yeah.
Awesome. Sure. Thank you so much. Ngā mihi nui kia koe. That was so informative, and we do have a few questions, which is good. So keep you busy. So I'll get stuck into those, but thank you again for that and the support you give to our Pākehā Māori. Do you support all Māori enterprises, sort of from sole traders, startups, up to the big guys?
Aye. So as long as they have a commercial enterprise and running a business, as you would have seen in my slideshow, there's some criteria around funding, and to access Poutama funding, you have to be turning over at least 80K and trading for at least 12 months. But yeah, we definitely support sole traders, iwi organisations, trusts, whichever way they've set their entity up, we can support them.
Awesome, thank you so much. Next one, you obviously operate across Aotearoa, is that right? Is there any times or anywhere that our businesses could be limited by location?
No, so essentially we are a very small team. We have had a sort of mobile delivery service now for the last 20 years. So a lot of what we do is out on the road. So although there's only a small group of us, we cover the whole country. And we're generally in a region at least once every couple of months anyway. So we've got business advisors based in Tamaki in Auckland, Rotorua, which is where our office is in Bay of Plenty, myself here in the Manawatu, and I cover the whole Lower North Island region. And between us, we sort of have split the country up, so we're accessible from anywhere. So a lot of our services and application and everything is all online now from our website. But yeah, we've got our 0800 number that you can contact, 0800 for Poutama, where you can get hold of any one of us at any time. And yeah, we generally will be in that region within a couple of months anyway. Yeah, so.
Awesome, thank you. This one's a hard one,
okay.
but a very good one. Is there a Pacifica equivalent of what Poutama offers to Māori businesses?
Yes, so there is the Pacific Business Trust, although the way that their funding operates is a little bit different to ours. I know years ago when we worked with them, they had a similar type grants model, but I think they do loans now. But Pacifica Business Trust is the Pacific Business Trust is their name. So they essentially service the businesses, the Pacifica businesses around the motu as well, just like we do. And I know that when we took on the provincial growth funding last year and supported MB with delivering that program to get that out to Māori businesses, Pacific Business Trust were also doing a similar thing for Pacifica businesses as well. So
Thank you. I'll give you all the hard questions. Holy moly. Good answer. In terms of when you're talking about your grants and the need to have a business plan, do you guys have support if businesses don't have that business plan but want to get it done?
Yes, definitely. So we have some easy to follow templates on our website as well, because I guess for us, a lot of what we want to see is what's in the head of the business owners, I guess. So we do prefer to have, even if it's a 3-page, 4-page business plan, as long as it's got a really good summary of who they are, what they do, who their market is, how they target those markets, and then obviously steps for growth and what their plans are for the next sort of 1, 3, 5 years. Then those are the key things that we like to see in a business plan. We know there's a lot of our Pākehā Māori out there who don't have a business plan or wouldn't know how to write a business plan. So we do try and encourage them to utilise those templates on our website. However, we work closely with Te Puni Kōkiri as well. So TPK have a Māori growth program, I think it's called now. They used to be called the Māori Business Facilitation Service, where they provided mentoring and stuff like that. So we could put businesses who are looking for mentoring and, you know, planning services through that. But there's also the Regional Business Partners Program network that can support with that stuff as well. But generally, we like to see businesses have a go at doing the template themselves. We're always available on our 0800 number for a chat if they need some support with that. But yeah, that's definitely on our website for them as well.
Thank you. I think it's so cool to sort of see how interconnected all of our awesome agencies and organizations are, and how you have such a strong network that I think if you can't help someone, you know exactly where to send them, and that's so awesome. I'll stop talking.
The other one I should mention actually is Māori Women's Development. So we work really closely with them, and so although their focus is on developing manawa, you know, wahine in business, they also do support the tāne as well. If there is a wahine involved in the business, then they're still also able to come for support, and they have some really good programs on sort of like be your own boss programs and helping to mentor those who are wanting to get into business. So that's also a good place to start if that's what you're looking at doing, or you're needing some support with some business planning as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Awesome answer. Again, on the co-funding, does that cover, or could that cover professional development or special skills related to your business?
Definitely. So we used to actually have different funds at Poutama, but now it's all in the one pool now. But essentially there's investigative type funding. So that's any sort of R&D, any sort of overseas market research, planning, basically where you need to go and bring in some expertise to support you with your development. As long as it's a third party entity, then that's the type of funding we can support. There's also training funding, so any management support type training that you might want to do to upskill yourselves in how to run your business better, but even industry specific type training as well. So if you've got staff that need to do first aid courses, or you know, they need to get another qualification for their a special license or whatever it is, depending on what industry you're in, then yeah, there's definitely that support for that type of training as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think it's so awesome that those opportunities are there for our businesses. Second to last question, I think, unless another one comes in. What are the funding rounds, or what are the dates of your funding rounds? Do you have
Okay,
funding
so
rounds?
we don't have funding rounds, so it's open. And the way in which our funding works is it's on a first in, first serve. So our financial year is from April to March. So now's the perfect time if you're thinking about looking to apply for some funding. We've just rolled over into our new financial year. So yeah, but we treat them as a first in, first serve basis. So depending on how many we have in the system at one time or on the go, then our general turnaround time, our standard turnaround time is about 40 days from the time we receive your application to processing it, but it generally doesn't take that long. We just allow ourselves that time frame in case we've got 50 already in the pipeline that we're working on. So yeah, but it's ongoing. And yeah, now's a good time because we've just, like I said, we're into our new financial year now. So we're into the New Year's budget.
Pūtea pot's full. Get in.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Awesome. And lucky last question, and it segues perfectly into me hopefully chucking your email into the chat there, and Venice's contact details were in the slide before as well. But the question is, can I just have a chat?
Of course,
That's
yeah.
And we
definitely. And we actually prefer that. So if you just want to have a kōrero and find out, you know, if there's some support or what we can do to help, then definitely just give our 0800 number a call. So it's 0800 for Poutama, which is 0800 476 882. And then, yeah, you'll go through to one of our business advisors or myself if you're calling from Hawke's Bay, and we can just have a chat and see how we can help.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That's all of the partai. But just before I hand back to Ange, I just want to say a massive thank you for what you do for our Pākehā Māori and for coming on and sharing it today. So thank you so much, and I'll pass it back to Angela.
Kia ora, Tisa.
Thanks, Venice. Yeah, I mean, just a wealth of knowledge, I'm sure, and expertise at Poutama there supporting Māori business. So yeah, congratulations on all the work that you have done, and thank you for all the work that you do. Yeah, that brings us to a close for this session. So wonderful to have you on, Venice, and thanks again for coming. Thank you to our audience who have tuned in via a live stream or jumped onto the webinar with us. Can I just encourage you, Venice mentioned a couple of organisations there that we actually have had presentations from or are going to. So if you haven't managed to get across those yesterday, all the recordings are available on YouTube, on the Digital Boost channel. And we will also be sending out a link in about 24 hours time with a link to that playlist if you want to catch up on any of those at your own leisure. We do have some exciting sessions coming up this afternoon. We've got Amotai up next with us at 2 o'clock. We've got representation from the Hawke's Bay Business Hub talking specifically about some industry stuff for food and bev and the high-tech industries. That's happening at 3 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock this afternoon, we've got New Zealand Trade and Enterprise joining us. Tomorrow, last day of our conference, we'll be having representation from our government agencies, so the Ministry of Social Development, IRD, business.govt and employment.govt. Tessa might just quickly chuck in the chat box for you all the link to how you can register for those. So you can head over to the Connected website, have a wee look at the regional page for the Hawke's Bay area, and you can register in there. We'd love to have you along with us. Thank you again for coming. That brings our session to a close, and we'll see you all in the next sessions.
Kia ora, ngā mihi.
Thank you. Bye-bye.